I said, standing by the green baize door, wringing out my hair. Mrs. Cuthbert had been our housekeeper for only a few weeks at that time. Years before, she'd been employed by Earl Deyning himself, not only at Deyning Park, now our home, but also at his estate in Northamptonshire. It had been lucky for us that Mrs. Cuthbert had agreed to come back to Deyning after the old Earl died, and my mother was delighted to have a housekeeper who knew the place so well. Such pedigree, Mamma had said, and I'd immediately imagined a little dog in an apron and mob cap. "And how many of you are there, miss?" Mrs. Cuthbert asked, glancing over at me, smiling. "Oh, 14, I think. Shall I go and count again?" "No, that's quite all right, dear. I'll come through myself and see." She wiped her hands on her apron. "You've got my Tom with you today," she said. "Tom? Your Tom?" "Yes, he came home yesterday and your mother kindly invited him to join today's little game. Have you not been introduced?" "No. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think so." I followed Mrs. Cuthbert along the back passageway towards the big room, and I remember looking down at the red and black quarry-tiled floor, trying, as I'd done since childhood, not to step on the black ones. But now it was impossible. My feet were too big. "He's not like your brothers, miss," she said, turning to look at me. "He's a gentle soul." In the big room, everyone had already seated themselves around the 4 card tables pushed up together, and suddenly I was aware of a new face, dark-eyed and solemn, staring directly at me. As Mrs. Cuthbert introduced me to her son, I smiled, but he didn't smile back, and I thought then how rude. "Hello," I said, and he stood up, still not smiling, and said, "Pleased to meet you," and then looked away. There was no thunderbolt, no quickening of the heart, but there was a sense of recognition, of familiarity about his face, the nose, the eyes, his stature. I opted out of whist. All 3 of my brothers were playing and I knew I stood no chance. Instead, I wandered to the other end of the room and sat down on the Persian rug in front of the fireplace. As I played with Caesar, Mamma's Pekingese dog, I caught Tom Cuthbert looking at me. I didn't smile, but he knew I'd seen him. And when I rose to my feet and walked back across the room, I was aware of him watching me. I sat down in an armchair, closer to the card tables, picked up a magazine and began to flick through its pages. I glanced over at him, caught his eye once more, and this time he smiled. And I knew it to be a special gesture, meant only for me. I didn't realize what it was like for him then, of course. Had no idea of his discomfort as his mother served us all tea. My upbringing had prepared me for a certain life, a life where I'd never questioned my role or the cast of players sharing my stage. It was a thoroughly modern idea then to educate a daughter, and, in my father's opinion, a pointless expense. So I'd studied at home with Mamselle, a tiny bird of a woman whose dislike of fresh air and susceptibility to draughts had rendered her pale and brittle. Her lessons in life had depended as much upon the temperature of her heart as the weather outside. Men, she had often told me, usually during arithmetic and with a rug over her knees, were brutes. They had simply not evolved from animals, she said. However, Keats and Wordsworth appeared to bring out an entirely different side of Mamselle's compact and complex character, for then she would sometimes throw back the rug, rise to her feet, and tell me that life was nazin at all if one had never loved. But by that summer Mamselle had left my life for good, for by then it was assumed I knew enough to be able to converse in polite society without appearing completely vacuous. Like my mother's orchids, I had been nurtured in a controlled environment, an atmosphere maintained at a consistent temperature, protected from cold snaps, clumsy fingers, and bitter frosts. My 3 brothers, on the other hand, had been allowed, even encouraged, to develop unruly tendrils, to thrive beyond the confines of any hothouse, to spread their roots unrestrained through that English earth they belonged to. It was different for a girl. Marriage and children, a tidy home and a